Chicago and the violence that we've experienced. We are on the back end of a horrible couple of weeks. And I have a YouTube clip that I want to play. I think that the clip will help me segue into what I want to talk about. And it is from WGN, and it's covering Chicago.
When are we going to say enough is enough?
A 20-month-old boy shot and killed while riding his mother's car. He is the latest victim of gun violence in Chicago. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jackie Bang.
And I'm Gaynor Hall, in tonight for Tamon Bradley. Let's get right to WGN's Megan Dwyer for the very latest. Megan.
Gaynor and Jackie, another violent Saturday in Chicago. Mom and her son were actually on their way to the laundromat when there was a drive-by shooting around 2 o'clock today. Someone opened fire on their car.
And I just want to sit on the side of the curb and shake my head and cry.
Pastor Donovan Price says he held the boy's parents today while they sobbed.
This world is becoming the kind of world that you really almost don't want your child in.
Around 2 this afternoon, the 22-year-old mom was driving south on Halstead to the laundromat when a car pulled up alongside her at 63rd Parkway and opened fire. Her 20-month-old son was behind her in his car seat.
No doubt we'll catch the person who did it, but that's not going to bring that kid back.
A bullet in his chest. The boy was pronounced dead at St. Bernard Hospital. His mother suffered a graze wound to her head. Police say 7 to 8 bullets hit the car.
I don't think it was random because of the amount of times it was fired upon.
Just last weekend, a 3-year-old boy was shot and killed in a car in South Austin.
When is it?
All right, so I was able to play that clip, and you get the gist of it. So this is. And the story was going on to say and share how there was a 3-year-old boy killed the week before. Just a couple days ago, there was a 3-year-old girl who was shot in the chest and was in surgery at Commerce Children's Hospital. And what I want to say is this. My long-term plan or my long-term goal is to motivate and empower young journalists through advancing their media ideas and innovation in innovative ways and in journalism. My platform is established and ready to do that work, but I have to put that on the back burner because we have to weed out the lost ones, the ones that are doing the shooting and the killing of innocent people, the ones who have been hard to reach. I think we have to get to them very young. Once they've decided they're going to be a killer, they are going to be as relentless as those protesters that are in the good fight. We have to turn them in, yes. Not only that, though, once they are in custody, we have to allow them to help us understand where in the process we go wrong. I understand that not all criminals, that's not all criminals. What I mean by that is that I understand that you're not going to be able to put all criminals through a program where you understand the psychology behind what it is that they go through to get them to the point where they are their anger turns deadly so quick. Some people are just what they are, and I believe that. But I also believe for many, if intervention years ago could have happened, many lives would have been saved. So in bringing forth this conversation, I like to do things that's kind of solution oriented. And I like to talk about ideas to help bring some solutions to the issues that we're having. And I come here. I have been working in communities since I left in 2010. I discovered on my own, with my own eyes, that we are fighting a pipeline to prison in the school systems. I learned that through experience. I learned how detached many black people are from the community and doing the work. I mean, I've been out here for years. I know who's out there doing the work, and I know who is out there blowing gas. It's been years for me. I say I've had an interest in working in violence prevention for 10 years. No, since 2008. So how many years is that? 2008, it's more than 10 years. Y'all do the math, I ain't in the mood. 12 years. But anyway, so I say all that to say that nothing I say is 100% new to me. So I try to look at things from a prevention perspective. And I totally disagree with the perspective that a lot of people are having right now with more policing. I do not think that more policing will resolve the issue. I actually think it puts the community and the officers in a compromising situation. If more police are put in areas where there's already an environment of hostility, then I believe you're setting both up for more police brutality and possibly killings, especially if these officers are not from the community. And I'm not saying that works 100%, so don't get me wrong. But if they don't have a compassion for the people in the community, if they don't have empathy, if they don't understand what urban cities go through, if they don't understand what has happened with the dynamic of the black family, all those things play a part. So I think that if you're just training cops and put as they're being trained and putting them in hostile situations, it is what it is. We will see more of the same and business as usual. So I look at things from a slightly different perspective, and I'm not saying my perspective is right, but it's a perspective, and I look at how, okay, so this is how I see things. So let's say that these young men are on the streets, and a lot of people are saying this is the perspective. So fatherhood absence plays a part in many of the communities that experience high rates of gun violence. Okay, I get that. I hear you. I'm with you. So the male figures that are available to model manhood for those young children in these areas are who? Who do we want to put more of out there? Police officers. So if we're going to use that theory, that police officers are the role models, or police officers are in the communities and these boys are missing role models, let's look at it from this perspective, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about this, and I'm no psychologist, but like I said, I've been watching for years. So if the only role models that are being put in these communities are looking at these boys as the enemy, are looking at, and they start young, it's not nothing new. Let's say, they get involved in gangs and drugs at 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. So a lot of these officers, policemen, they see these young boys grow up, and they see them go from just being a fatherless child to being this hellion on the street, right? So let's just put this in perspective. If you know that these young men do not have father figures in their lives, if you know that something that will help bring an end to this violence is these young men having positive role models in their lives, but you send police officers into the streets and look at these young boys as a threat, as the enemy, and you're at war with them. If the only thing I'm looking at, if I need something, if I'm missing something, and the only thing that I'm looking at is telling me, now I need this father figure in my life, but I'm looking at it and it's telling me that I'm the enemy, I'm at war with you. And if it comes down to it, if it's me and you, I'm taking you out because you're a threat, and I'm going home to my family. if that is what a young boy has to look at, if he don't have a role model, if he doesn't have a father figure in his life, what does that tell you? It's a possibility if you change that perspective that you might have a solution, not the complete solution, but a portion of the solution. You might have a portion of the solution to your problem, right? Is that a complicated way to look at it? Is that too much to ask? So, I just propose that when you sign up to go and you police in these communities, congratulations, you're the father. You have taken on a role to be a role model in these young boys' lives. Unfortunately, they don't have their fathers in their lives. Unfortunately, they don't have many people that they can look up to as a father figure in their lives. It's unfortunate. It's sad. But when you plant yourself in these communities, and it may seem, like, what is she talking about? Really, the police officers being a father figure to young boys, to fatherless children, to fatherless girls? And I'm sorry, I'm just focusing on the gun violence and homicide perspective. But, it can work across the board with girls, too. But right now we have an issue with homicides happening by young black men killing other young black men. So my perspective is this. If the police officers were to look at their role as being a role model, father figure to the young guys in the community, would that change? Don't you think that would change how these young boys see themselves? Don't you think that would restore some value in who these boys are? The only man that they have, according to what is constantly said, the only man that they look up to teaches them to hate themselves. The one that brought them into this world may have to some extent abandoned them, may be dead, may be in jail, whatever the story may be. But the one male figure, black, whatever, white, whatever, but the one male figure or the few male figures that they have to look at every day is willing to gun them down, chase them down, lock them up, put them in prison, put them in jail, send them through the juvenile system. Don't you think that tears away at a person? Don't you think that degrades a person and devalues who they are? So if we shift that, if we turn that around, I think that will help give these young people some hope, something to look forward to. I think it'll create more peace in our communities. And I'm not saying that it's something that can happen overnight, because you're dealing with the heart of grown people, because their minds are fixed on what they go out to do every day when they police. Their minds are fixed on what it is that their job is. But if we start encouraging that, like, man, you're a father figure. You a role model to these young boys. You can't teach them to hate themselves. You can't teach them that it's okay to, because one thing my pastor told me is that the police officers are not trained to maim, not even trained to maim. They are trained to kill.